She left food out for my pets, then smiled at me like she loved animals. But why did they keep disappearing? In just a few minutes, you'll understand what really happened behind that white fence, and what I found when I stopped being polite and started watching her. One night, the barking stopped. Then the power went out. Then she left something on my porch that changed everything. This is my story, and it's not what you think. Thank you for being here. Have you ever noticed something that didn't feel right, but couldn't prove it? Say something below, even something small. A word, a city, a time. And if you'd like more stories like this, quiet but powerful, subscribe. They're just animals. She's too old to notice anyway. That's what she said. I was trimming the rosemary by the fence when her voice floated over, casual and sharp, like broken glass in a silk glove. I froze. The shears paused mid-air. I don't think she knew I was there. Or maybe she did. Maybe she didn't care. She was talking to someone. Maybe her daughter? Maybe herself? The wind carried her words like a slap to the face. Too old to notice. She meant me. She was talking about my dogs, about my cats. I didn't say a word, just kept pruning, one dry stalk after another, while my lungs burned with something I couldn't name. It wasn't rage. Not yet. That came later. Right then, it felt like shame. As if I had already failed them, as if I hadn't noticed. That night, Biscuit wouldn't eat. She just curled under the piano, breathing fast. Her fur was dirty, not her usual backyard muddy. Something smelled wrong, like chemicals. I bathed her. She whimpered, flinched. When I dried her belly, I saw it. A red welt, thin, long, like a scratch from something deliberate. I sat on the bathroom floor with the wet towel in my lap for a long time. The tile was cold, but my hands were sweating. My mind wouldn't stop showing me her face, those polite, brittle smiles over the fence, her muffins. Her, "Oh, I just worry about your back, dear" comments. I'd known her 12 years. 12 years of birthday cards, borrowed sugar, neighborhood watch meetings, and now this. The next morning, I noticed the silence. No purring, no soft paws on the kitchen counter. Muffin, my oldest cat, was missing. I searched the usual spots, the laundry basket behind the furnace, the blanket box. I shook the treats. Nothing. The screen door to the backyard was unlocked. I stood in the doorway for a while, just stood there, like if I waited long enough, something would click into place. But it didn't. Only the wind moved, and across the fence, her lawn was unnaturally quiet. Not a squirrel, not a bird. Even the air felt wrong. Later that afternoon, my grandson Oliver stopped by with his skateboard and a tube of sour candy. "Maybe the witch took her," he said between licks, pointing at the neighbor's window. "Like in the movies." I forced a chuckle. "That's not nice," I said, ruffling his hair. But I didn't correct him. Not really, because something had already cracked inside me. Not broken, not yet. But something shifted. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed with my eyes open, staring at the ceiling fan, listening for something. Anything. Scratching, whimpers, the sound of footsteps in my yard that didn't belong. In the morning, I found the dead bird, placed perfectly on my porch, not mangled, not eaten, just placed. I stared at it for a full minute. A gift? A warning? Or maybe just another thing no one would believe. But I believed it. I did. For the first time in my 72 years, I felt something old and sharp rise in me. Not fear, not grief, hunger. A hunger for truth, for proof, for justice. And I knew exactly where to start. I told no one, not the kids, not my friends at bingo, not even Pastor Clay, who's usually the first to hear when my roof leaks or I burn my toast. This wasn't gossip. This was something else. Something I couldn't name just yet. So I did what felt right. I went to Walmart, bought a trail camera, the kind hunters use. It felt strange in my hands, hard, cold, military green, like holding someone else's secret. "You going deer hunting, ma'am?" the cashier joked. I smiled back, but inside, something growled. I'm not hunting deer. That evening, I set it up behind the bird bath, pointed it right through the holes in the fence. No one saw me, not even the birds. I stood back, crossed my arms, felt stupid. What was I hoping to catch? A witch riding a vacuum cleaner? But then I remembered Biscuit's flinch, Muffin's empty bed, the bird on my porch. No, I wasn't crazy, and I wasn't old enough to stop fighting. For 3 days, nothing. Well, not nothing. Squirrels, one raccoon, a possum with a limp, but nothing human, nothing horrible. I almost convinced myself I'd imagined it all. But on the 4th night, I saw her. She came out just after midnight, hair in curlers, no porch light. She moved like a shadow, quiet and deliberate. She walked to the fence and leaned over, held something in her hand, like a spray bottle. And then the camera caught the shimmer. She sprayed my hydrangeas, not hers, mine, right by Biscuit's path. And then she turned, and for a second, her face hit the moonlight. She was smiling. I watched that clip 10 times. I didn't blink. I didn't cry. I just sat there, clutching the edge of my kitchen table. I knew those hydrangeas. I'd planted them for my husband after he passed. His favorite. That patch of garden had been blooming untouched for 8 years. And now this. I called animal control the next morning. The woman on the phone was kind, young, and tired. I could hear a baby crying in the background. Without proof of direct harm, ma'am, she said, we can't investigate. A spray bottle near a fence isn't enough. What if the spray is poison? I asked. Did you test it? No, I hadn't. Then I'm sorry. She hung up before I could say thank you. I sat on my porch for a while. The breeze was soft, the kind that usually made me close my eyes and think about birthdays or cinnamon cookies. But today, it felt like a silence with teeth, like something was watching back. Across the fence, her curtains moved, and then a voice, clear, cold. Careful with your camera, sweetheart. Some of us like our privacy. I didn't answer. I didn't move. But inside, I snapped. That night, I opened my notebook, started writing. Not a diary, not a letter, a record. Page 1, the scratch. Page 2, the missing cat. Page 3, the dead bird. Page 4, the spray bottle. I numbered them, dated them, printed photos, clipped them in, a dossier, a war file. And just like that, I became something I never thought I'd be, a woman with a case. Some people say grief is loud. To me, it's the opposite. It's the sound of a food bowl not emptying, the silence of a sunbeam without a body in it. The morning after I started the notebook, I realized something. I hadn't heard purring in 2 days. Muffin still hadn't come back. And now Toby, the youngest, the orange one with a crooked tail, wasn't on the windowsill either. 2. Gone. I checked the usual places, even under the porch, on my knees, splinters in my palms. Toby, I called. Treats. Nothing, except a low creak from her side of the fence. I tried not to imagine it. The basement, the box, the sound of nails on linoleum. But something inside me was already screaming. So I did what I hadn't done in 20 years. I prayed. God, I whispered in the bathroom, holding Toby's last photo. Don't let them be in pain. And if they are, let me be the last one who suffers. Not them. Never them. And for a second, just one, I thought I heard a meow. Faint. Like memory. I opened the window. Nothing. Only wind. And the faint scent of bleach. That night, I lit a candle. Not for God. For them. I set it on the porch and watched the flame dance. The wind tried to kill it, again and again. But it bent, didn't break. Just like me. I remembered something then. A moment I hadn't thought of in years. I was 11. Our dog, Lacey, got hit by a truck. My father came in, washed his hands, looked at my mother and said, "It's just an animal, don't let her make a fuss." But my mother, she didn't say a word. She walked out the back door, shovel in hand, and dug a hole herself, in the cold, in silence. She didn't cry. Not that night, but a week later, she changed the locks and slept on the other side of the bed for the rest of his life. There are moments that split you, clean down the middle. That was hers. And this was mine. I wasn't just a neighbor anymore, or a grandma with tea and lavender soap. I was a woman whose animals were vanishing, a woman being hunted in her own home, softly, politely, with chemicals and smiles, and no one was coming to help, except me. I was coming. For her, for the truth, and this time, with evidence. The camera blinked at me. Little green light, steady, like a heartbeat I'd forgotten to check. It had been running 3 nights. I hadn't dared look until now. I brought the SD card inside and sat at the kitchen table. The teacup in front of me was full, untouched. It had gone cold hours ago. So had the day. I slid the card into the reader, heart tapping out a rhythm I hadn't felt since my driving test in '81. Folder. DCIM subfolder, CAMZU1 files 28. Most of them looked boring. Still images, bushes, a raccoon sniffing, a plastic bag fluttering like a ghost, and then frame 19. I leaned in. She was in her yard at 2:08 a.m. in slippers, pajamas, a bathrobe with tiny lemons on it. She wasn't holding anything. She was watching. Not her flowers, not her porch, my window. The camera didn't capture sound, but I swear, even on mute, I heard her breathing. It was slow, intentional, like someone waiting for a cue, a stage light, a scream. Frame 20. She turned her head, and for a moment, a flicker of a smile, then gone. Back into the dark, the lemon robe vanishing like fog. I leaned back, fingers numb. What was she doing? Watching me? My dogs? Was she waiting to see if it worked? If her little spray bottle cocktail had done its job? Or was she just playing, winding me tighter and tighter like some kind of wind-up toy? I printed the frame, black and white, grainy, but her face was clear. I clipped it into my notebook, page 5, The Watcher. Then I flipped the page and wrote in bold block letters, "If this is war, then I get to choose the battlefield." That evening, I baked banana bread. That's what I do when I think. And I thought, what would she never expect from me? Silence? She already had that. Tears? She was feeding on them. But action? She wouldn't see that coming. So I wrote an email. Subject line, "Concerned resident. Possible animal abuse case." I attached the camera image. Told the story simply. No drama, no flourishes, just facts. I sent it to Local Animal Control County Sheriff's Department, a journalist from the Boone Herald, whom I remembered from a town hall 3 years ago, and myself, as a reminder. Then, as I was about to shut down the laptop, ding, a reply from the journalist. "Hi, this sounds serious. Can we talk? Do you have any more photos or details? Maggie Ross." I stared at the screen, felt my pulse in my neck. Was this the beginning of something, or the start of something worse? Outside, a dog barked. Biscuit, short, sharp, insistent. I looked out the window, and there she was again, my neighbor, lemon robe, barefoot, holding something small in her hand. She didn't smile this time, just turned, and walked straight back inside. The morning smelled like rain. I just finished watering the roses when I heard it. Not a bark, not a growl, a cry, high-pitched, cut off, like something between a scream and a choke. Biscuit. I dropped the watering can. It hit the ground hard, a hollow clang, but I didn't stop. She was by the side gate, pressed into the corner like she was trying to disappear into the wood itself. Eyes wide, muzzle bleeding, front leg lifted, trembling. "Baby, baby, what happened?" I scooped her up. She didn't resist. She never let me pick her up. Never. That scared me more than the blood. The vet's office was cold. I sat with Biscuit wrapped in my old flannel coat. She kept licking my arm, then whimpering again, like she didn't know which she felt more, pain or comfort. Dr. Lively came in, brows furrowed, voice low. Blunt force trauma. Possibly a boot. We can't be sure. I blinked. You mean someone kicked her? He didn't nod, but he didn't shake his head either. We'll treat her. She's strong. But you should consider who has access to her space. He handed me a pamphlet about animal abuse laws in Missouri. I didn't open it. I knew what it meant. That night, I sat on the floor beside her bed, just watching her breathe, my hand on her fur, rising and falling, like waves I was trying to keep from drowning under. That's when I realized I wasn't afraid anymore. I was something colder, clearer. The next day, I wrote again. Not to police, not to lawyers, to everyone. I posted it on Facebook, a photo of Biscuit, her leg in a tiny blue bandage. Caption, "This is Biscuit. She is 12. She does not bark much. She likes cheese and hates loud radios. 3 pets are gone. 1 came back bleeding. I live on Ashton Lane. If anything happens to my animals again, I will not be silent. If you've seen or heard anything, please message me." I almost didn't press post, but then I saw the little camera on my desk. I clicked. The post went live. 2 hours later, 12 likes, 3 shares, no comments. 4 hours later, a message from a name I didn't know. Danielle M. Her profile picture showed a teenage girl with a beanie and eyeliner. "My cat went missing last month. Same street. Can I call you?" The rest of the day blurred. I made tea, forgot it, tried reading, closed the book after 1 page, kept glancing at the window, at her house, shutters drawn, curtains still, no robe, no lemons, just quiet, until sunset. Then, a knock. Not on the door, on the gate. I peeked through the blinds. It was her, holding something. A plate. Cookies? She stood there, waited, calm, like a trick-or-treater without a costume. I didn't move. Eventually, she turned, but before leaving, she set the plate down slowly on the porch railing, then looked straight at the camera I'd installed last week and smiled. Danielle came over the next afternoon. She was younger than I expected, 19, maybe 20. Shy eyes, chipped nail polish, hoodie 2 sizes too big. She didn't sit right away, just hovered by the edge of the porch like she wasn't sure she was welcome, like she was used to being turned away. "You're safe here," I said, and "I believe you, whatever it is." That's all it took. She sat, opened her phone, scrolled. "His name was Toby, too," she said. "Orange tabby, same crooked tail. Found him at the shelter when I was 12. He used to sleep on my head like a hat." Her smile was small, brief, then gone. "He disappeared 6 weeks ago. First I thought he'd wandered. He was curious, but then my friend Sarah saw a post online, a lost and found thread. Someone posted a picture of Toby, dead. It was blurry, but I knew him. I could tell. She showed me the image. My breath caught. It wasn't just the cat. It was the background. A yard. Our street. Her yard. Same hedges. Same lawn chairs. Same cracked garden gnome I'd seen behind her hydrangeas. "I showed it to the police," Danielle said. "They said I couldn't prove it was him. Said cats die all the time. Then, 2 days later, someone left a dead mouse on my welcome mat. No bite marks, just posed, like a gift." I knew that feeling, too well. Danielle looked at me, eyes sharp now, no longer soft. "I thought maybe I was being paranoid, but then I saw your post, and I knew. It wasn't just me, it wasn't in my head." She paused, took a breath. "She's done this before, hasn't she?" I didn't answer right away. I was remembering something I hadn't let myself think about in years. A woman named Alice, 3 houses down. She used to have birds, canaries, a whole room of them. One day, gone. All of them. She moved a month later, said it was the humidity. But now I remembered that Alice never used to lock her doors, and that once I saw my neighbor walk out of her gate with a shoebox. I looked at Danielle. "Yes," I said softly. "She's done this before." We made tea, sat on the porch while Biscuit slept by the door, wrapped in a blanket like a baby. I told Danielle everything. The spray bottle, the camera, the lemon robe, the stare. She listened like someone gathering ammunition. "We need more voices," she said. "More people like us. She's not just mean. She's broken, dangerous." I nodded. That night, I added a new page to the notebook. Page 6, Danielle, photo, testimony, timeline. And for the first time, the file felt less like a collection of grief and more like a case. I sent another email to Maggie, the journalist. Subject line: another victim, same street, same pattern. This time, she called. "I want to run this," she said. "It's delicate. But if we do this carefully, she can't touch you. Are you ready to go public?" I looked at the wall, where the photo of Biscuit and Toby used to hang side by side. Now it was just Biscuit. I picked up my teacup, still warm. "Yes," I said. "I'm done hiding." The article dropped on a Thursday, front page of the Boone Herald's local section, title, "Neighbors or Threats? Quiet Street Grieves for Missing Pets." Underneath, 2 photos, one of Biscuit wrapped in her little bandage and one of me. I hated how I looked, wrinkled, tired, but I was also standing, upright, eyes forward. "You look fierce," Maggie had said. I didn't feel fierce. I felt exposed. That morning, I received 9 calls before 10 a.m., 2 of them from numbers I didn't know. One was from a woman down the street whose rabbit disappeared last year. "I thought it was a hawk," she whispered, "but now I'm not sure. Can I come talk to you?" The other, a man. Quiet voice. Too polite. "You really shouldn't be stirring things up, ma'am," he said. "Not good for people your age." He hung up before I could answer. But I didn't need to. I knew the voice. It was her son. By noon, the street had changed. Some neighbors waved to me. Real waves, not those tight smiles they used to give. Some avoided eye contact. One man crossed the street entirely when I went out to check my mail, but most of them watched. Not openly, through blinds, from porches, as if waiting to see if I'd fall apart. And then she appeared, my neighbor. 3:15 p.m. exactly. As always, neat hair, pressed slacks, lemon yellow blouse. She walked straight across the lawn like it was a stage, held up a pie. Pecan. She always made pecan. Too sweet, always too sweet. "I thought we could talk," she said with a voice dipped in sugar. I stood in the doorway. Didn't let her in. "Talk about what?" She smiled, but her eyes were ice. "About misunderstandings, about attention. You've had so little of it lately. I understand that." I didn't blink. 3 animals are gone. 1 is limping. A teenage girl has a photo of her cat in your yard. If that's a misunderstanding, I'd love to hear how. Her smile dropped. Just like that, as if someone pulled the string out of her mask. "You always needed to feel important. You were never content just being old, were you?" There it was, the real voice, the one I'd heard through the fence, the one that dripped poison into hydrangeas and left dead birds at my door. I took a step forward, the pie tilted in her hands. "Leave my porch," I said. Her jaw tensed, a beat of silence, and then coldly, "Careful, sweetheart. People like me, we survive women like you." She turned and walked away, left the pie on my steps like a cursed offering. I didn't touch it. That night, I wrapped it in 3 layers of plastic, put it in the freezer, marked it evidence, because I didn't trust it, not anymore. Later, I sat down with Danielle. We went through more neighborhood posts, found another missing dog, a ferret, a parrot. Each time, same story. No signs, no suspects, no help. Maggie called, voice buzzing. "Your stories picked up traction. An animal rights group in St. Louis reached out. They want to help investigate." I almost laughed. Me. a grandma with a garden camera and a scared dog. And now I had a team? But I didn't laugh. "Tell them yes," I said. "We've got more voices coming." The rain came like an apology no one asked for. Not thunder, not wind, just quiet, steady rain. It started after midnight. I sat by the window with a blanket over my shoulders, watching droplets race down the glass like they had somewhere important to be. Biscuit snored softly at my feet. I stroked her ear. She twitched, dreamed, and I whispered, "You're safe now, I promise." But even as I said it, I wasn't sure. Rain does strange things to sound. It softens what should scare you, like footsteps, which is probably why I didn't react right away. Not when I heard something outside. A thump. Then another. I stood, slid the door open just a little. Wet wind kissed my face. The yard looked empty. Silent. Except something was leaning against the back gate. I put on my rain boots, the ones with sunflowers, and stepped outside. Every blade of grass bent. Even the trees seemed to crouch, like the whole world was trying not to breathe too loud. I reached the gate. It wasn't a package, not trash. It was a shoebox, wrapped in plastic, taped, no note. I stared at it. And then, slowly, I picked it up. Inside the house, I peeled it open on the kitchen table. There was no smell, no weight, just photos, dozens of them, blurry, faded. Most were old, 2000s, maybe even earlier, but I recognized one thing immediately. Animals, cats, dogs, cages, and yards. Not mine, not Danielle's. Yards I'd seen on this street, long before anyone talked. One photo made my hand go numb. It was of a black poodle, elderly, bow on her head, sitting on a red porch swing. Alice's dog. Alice. The bird lady. The one who moved away after humidity problems. The one with the shoebox and the shut curtains. My throat tightened. These weren't just photos. They were a collection, a record, like mine. At the bottom of the box, a slip of paper. One sentence printed in all caps. "She's been doing this longer than you think." No name, no fingerprint. Just that. I held the paper between my fingers, hands shaking slightly. And for the first time in this entire ordeal, I wasn't sure what scared me more, that I was right, or that someone else knew and had stayed silent. I emailed Maggie the photos, all of them. Subject, evidence, anonymous source, found on my property. I didn't wait for a reply. Instead, I added a new page to the notebook. Page 8, the box. I sealed the photos in plastic sleeves, numbered them, cross-referenced the yards, and under it I wrote, "The storm brought more than rain." Later that night, I sat on the porch with a cup of hot cider. The rain had stopped. The air smelled like wet earth and tension. I looked at her house. No lights, no movement, no lemon robe. But the curtains were open, for the first time in days, and I swear, I saw her watching. Not angry, not smug, just still and waiting. I never thought I'd set foot in the county records office again. Last time I was there, it was to file my husband's death certificate. Now I was back, chasing ghosts. I brought the box of photos with me, in a tote bag with purple stitching. No one looked twice. The clerk was a man in his 40s, friendly, smelled like coffee and old books. "You looking for permits? Deeds?" "Incidents," I said. "Animal complaints? Anything filed from this neighborhood in the last 20 years. He raised an eyebrow but didn't ask questions, just handed me a form and pointed to a dusty terminal in the back. "We don't digitize all the older ones, but if it's there, you'll find it." I scrolled through screen after screen. The hum of the old monitor filled my ears. Most of the files were boring. Loose dogs, barking complaints, a raccoon in someone's attic. But then, a name popped up I hadn't heard in a decade. Eleanor Prissman. The report was from 2009, filed anonymously, content redacted. but the words suspected cruelty and multiple small animals were underlined. And the address? 2 streets over. I sat back. That name, I knew it. I remembered a lady, thin, always wore gloves, even in July. She had ferrets, 5 of them. The whole neighborhood used to laugh about the smell. Then she moved. No goodbye, no for sale sign, just gone. And the woman who bought her house? My neighbor. I clicked for attachments. Only one survived the scan, a black and white photo. It was blurry, but behind the chain-link fence, a shadow of a woman, hair pulled back, head tilted, her. Even back then, always watching. I printed the document. Back at home, I laid it beside the box photos. 2 timelines, 2 neighborhoods, 1 constant, her. I called Maggie. It's not just our street, I said. There's a pattern, names, houses, disappearances. She was quiet for a moment, then, meet me tomorrow. Bring the records. We're going bigger. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not from fear, from urgency. I went back through my notebook, every page, every printout, and I saw the shape of it now, like a map forming from invisible ink. Victims, stories, overlapping dates, dead pets, moved neighbors, empty homes. But something else was bothering me. The shoebox, the message. She's been doing this longer than you think. Who wrote it? Someone knew. Someone tried to warn me. But why not come forward? Unless they couldn't. I pulled up Alice's old address, typed it into a search engine. No record of her, no obituary, no relocation filing, just silence. Like she never existed, or was erased, then a ding, a message, Danielle. She'd gone digging, too. I found a Facebook page, abandoned, username PetTruth2021. Last post, they won't believe me, but she's still out there. My hands shook as I opened it. The profile photo? A birdcage, empty. I knew then, we weren't the first, but we might be the last. The evening began like any other. I made soup, lentil with extra garlic, biscuit patted around the kitchen, tail wagging like old times. For a moment, everything felt normal, safe. But then came the knock. Not at the door, at the side window. I froze. 3 taps, sharp, rhythmic. I peeked. No one. Just the yard, dim and quiet. Too quiet. I closed the curtain, checked the locks, and told myself, it's nothing. It's wind, a branch. Then, at 9:17 p.m., the power died, all at once. The lights, the fridge, the hum of the heater, gone. I stood in the dark, listening. No thunder, no storm, just silence. Then, footsteps, soft, on grass, not mine. I grabbed the flashlight and moved to the back door. The batteries flickered, but the light held. Through the glass, shadows, movement near the fence. Then something small hit the porch. I jumped. Biscuit growled, low and trembling. I opened the door just a crack. A dead rat. No blood, no injuries. Placed there. Like before. Like always. This wasn't warning anymore. It was claiming. I called 911, rang twice before connecting. Emergency services. There's someone in my yard, I said. They cut the power. They've left a dead animal. Ma'am, are they still on your property? I looked again. The shadow was gone. I don't know. Unless you are in immediate danger or see them inside the home, we recommend you wait it out. We're short-staffed tonight. What if they come back? Keep the doors locked, ma'am. We'll note your call. Click. I stared at the phone. Biscuit nudged my leg, and I realized no one's coming. I lit 3 candles, sat in the center of the living room, camera footage up on my iPad, notebook in my lap. I flipped to the newest entry, page 10, the power, the rat, the silence, and beneath it wrote, if she's not scared of me, I'll show her what fear looks like. At sunrise, I made 3 decisions. I called Maggie and told her, print her name, make it public. I wrote a post online tagging every neighborhood group I could find. This is my address. This is my name. I am not afraid of you. I ordered a second camera, then a third, one for the porch, one for the back, one facing her house. Later that day, Maggie messaged me. They're pulling up old animal cruelty records. There's a pattern. You helped crack it. It didn't feel like a victory, not yet, but it was movement. That night, Danielle came over. She brought a flashlight, 2 pepper sprays, and a thermos of chamomile tea. We sat in silence, sipping, surrounded by flickering light and fear and something deeper, resolve. Outside, the power returned. The fridge hummed, the heater sighed, but I didn't trust it. I wrote a final line before going to bed. This is not over, but neither am I. The town meeting was held in the church basement. Same linoleum floors, same bad coffee, same old folding chairs that creaked when you breathed wrong. But this time, everyone was there. Not just the usual retirees and school moms. The whole street came. Some stood in the back, some didn't sit at all, and all of them were looking at me. Maggie stood beside me. Danielle held a folder of copies, photos, timelines, complaints, the report about Eleanor Prissman. I stepped up to the front, cleared my throat, and said, "This isn't just about my dog, or my cat, or the dead bird on my porch. This is about a pattern, one we ignored, one we lived beside." I showed them the timeline, the photos, the map of 5 houses, 5 victims, all near her. I didn't say her name at first, but they knew. Halfway through, I looked up. People weren't frowning. They were remembering. That missing parrot, that rabbit, the family that moved away after their kids got sick from allergies no doctor could explain. When I finished, the room was silent. Then someone clapped. Slow, unsure. Then more hands joined. It wasn't loud, it wasn't triumphant, but it was solid, like gravel under bare feet, something you could stand on. Afterward, a man approached me. Tall, gray beard, farmer boots. "She poisoned my chickens," he said quietly. I didn't say anything, felt stupid, but you saying it made me feel less crazy. I smiled. "You're not crazy. You were right. And now we say it out loud." By 7 p.m., I was home. The porch lights buzzed warmly. For once, I didn't check the windows. I made tea, fed biscuit, looked through my notebook. "You did it," I whispered to the page. At 9:13 p.m., I smelled smoke. Not kitchen smoke, not candle smoke, plastic, chemicals, grass. I ran to the back. The garden was on fire. My hydrangeas, the ones she sprayed, were blazing. And beside the flames, a bottle. The same kind she carried, melted, twisted, empty. I grabbed the hose, sprayed until my hands cramped. By the time the fire truck came, it was mostly out. Charred roots, blackened soil. The garden was gone. And with it, the last living thing I'd planted with my husband. A young firefighter came up to me. "We'll investigate, ma'am. Probably some kind of accelerant. Any idea who might want to do this?" I looked across the street. Her house. Dark. Quiet. Windows shut, and I said, "Yeah, I've got an idea." That night, I didn't cry. I made coffee. Sat with Danielle. She stared at the garden for a long time. "She's escalating," she whispered. "She's not just hurting animals anymore." "No," I said. "She's sending a message." "What are you going to do?" I didn't hesitate. "I'm going to answer it." The morning after the fire, I received a knock. Not firm, not threatening. A soft, nervous tap-tap, like someone testing whether kindness was still welcome. It was Mr. Lyle. I hadn't seen him in years. 83, Navy vet, lived across the alley, used to mow his lawn in straight, military rows. Lately, I only saw the curtain twitch. "I read the paper," he said, and "I have something you should see." He wore an old jacket with patches on the sleeves and held a manila envelope to his chest like it was full of glass. "Not here," he added. "Follow me." We walked slow. his cane thumping rhythmically on the sidewalk. He led me to a corner house, abandoned for years, overgrown, faded paint, a for sale sign bleached white. "This used to be Alice's," he said. My spine stiffened. "The bird lady." He nodded, then quietly. Before she left, she gave me a key, told me not to go in, not unless something like this ever happened again. Something like what? The disappearances, the dead things. He handed me the key. Inside, the air smelled like dust and rotting wood. We stepped carefully, floorboards creaking like whispers. "She kept birds in the back," I said. "No," he replied. "Those were just the ones we saw." In the hallway behind a broken wardrobe, he pushed on a panel. It clicked, revealing a narrow staircase. Down, into dark. He handed me a flashlight. "I don't go downstairs so well these days, but I believe you're brave enough." The steps groaned underfoot, each one tighter, heavier, as if time itself didn't want to let me pass. At the bottom, a cement floor, a room the size of a pantry, and inside it, cages, old, rusted, some open, some shut, fur clumps still stuck to wire, a wall covered in newspaper clippings, missing pets, lost dog, reward offered, taped in obsessive rows, some marked with red pen, dates, check marks. My breath fogged in front of me. This wasn't just cruelty, this was ritual, a pattern, a gallery, a trophy room. I took photos, slowly, hands shaking. I didn't speak, didn't cry. I documented, because I knew. No one would believe this without proof. Back upstairs, Mr. Lyle waited with tea already steeping. "She threatened Alice, you know," he said softly. "When Alice started talking to neighbors, the packages started showing up. First feathers, then bones. Why didn't she tell anyone? She did. They didn't listen." Back home, I added a new page. Page 12, the room, photos, quotes, timeline. And beneath it, it's not just evidence anymore. It's a legacy. That evening, I sent the photos to Maggie. She called me immediately. "This changes everything," she said. "I'm contacting the state. This is criminal, not just local now." "Good," I replied. But inside, I knew she already knows we're closing in, which meant she'd either run or strike. We called it the meeting. Not fancy, not official, but everyone knew what it meant. Maggie pulled strings with the State Humane Board. A rep from the sheriff's office agreed to attend. Even Animal Control finally returned my call. "We've seen the photos," the woman said. "We're listening now." About time. We planned it for Saturday. Open air. Neutral ground. The old playground between Ashton and Pine. No accusations. No names. Just a community forum on pet safety. But everyone knew why we were there and who we were talking about. The morning of the meeting, I woke early, lit a candle, held Biscuit's paw. "It ends today," I whispered, "one way or another." I packed my notebook, the photos, even the bottle from the fire, not just for them, for me, so I'd remember I wasn't crazy. At 11:05 a.m., we began. Maggie opened, calm, factual. Then the sheriff's rep spoke, laid out the law, what counts as abuse, what doesn't. Then me. I stood, held up one photo, Muffin, curled in sunlight, the first one I lost. Her name was Muffin, I said. She liked laundry baskets and hated loud laughter. She vanished, then others vanished, then Biscuit came back bleeding. I told the story, all of it. No drama, just facts. And the truth settled into the crowd like cold rain. Halfway through, I saw her, my neighbor, standing under the oak tree, lemon blouse, pale slacks, expression unreadable. She said nothing, did nothing, just watched. After I finished, there was silence. Then, a girl stood, Danielle, voice shaking. "She killed my cat." Then another voice. "She poisoned my dog." Then another. I thought I was the only one. And just like that, silence cracked. The sheriff took statements. Animal control took copies. Maggie recorded everything. It was working. The trap was closing. At 2:13 p.m., the meeting ended. People lingered, nervous, hopeful. Then Maggie's phone buzzed. She looked down, frowned. She's gone. What? Her house. Her car's not there. Curtains drawn. Neighbors say she left around 5 a.m. My stomach dropped. Back at my porch, a package waited, wrapped in yellow paper, tied with string. No note. Inside, a pair of garden shears. Mine. The ones that had gone missing months ago. Polished. Clean. Too clean. I stared at them, then saw the post-it stuck inside the box. You missed a spot. I scanned the yard. Nothing. But I knew. She'd been here. This morning. Maybe even while I was gone. And she left them like a calling card. Like a wink. Like a dare. I didn't call the sheriff. Not yet. Instead, I added a new page. Page 13. The gift. A photo of the shears. And beneath it, she's not hiding anymore. She's choosing when to be seen. The trap worked. But the mouse? She slipped through. And now, she was circling back. It happened on a Tuesday, 2 days after the meeting, right before sundown. I was trimming dead leaves off the porch plants, the only ones that survived the fire, when I heard her voice. You win, I suppose. I didn't look up at first. The air shifted, thickened, and there she was, on my porch. No robe, no lemon blouse, just a pale gray coat, buttoned too tight, face bare, expression calm, too calm. What are you doing here? I asked, saying goodbye. I finally looked at her. She wasn't holding anything. Her hands stayed folded, but her eyes were sharper than I'd ever seen them. They're coming for you, I said. I know, she answered. You made sure of that. Because you hurt them. No, she corrected softly. I tended them. That stopped me cold. She stepped forward just to the edge of the first step. You think I did it out of hate, but it wasn't hate. It was mercy. I stared. Mercy? They were always left out, forgotten, barking all night while their owners scrolled on phones, cats digging through trash, birds in cages too small. I took them, let them rest. My stomach turned. You killed them. No, I ended their waiting. You all pretended to love them, but you didn't see them. Her voice never rose, never cracked. It was like she was reciting from memory. What about Biscuit? I asked. She wasn't forgotten. She was family. She was getting old, slowing down. You cried every time she limped. I couldn't breathe. You think that gave you the right? I think I was honest about what everyone else ignored. There was silence. She looked past me at the garden. Burnt, black, a graveyard of color. I left you the shears because I thought you might finally understand. Cut away what's dying. Let the rest grow. Get off my property, I whispered. I'm not coming back. She turned, walked down the steps. No rush, no fear. Halfway down the sidewalk, she stopped. It was never about them. It was about you people, pretending you're good, pretending you care. She didn't wait for a response, just walked into the dusk and vanished around the corner. I stood there long after the sun had set, frozen, shaken. Not because I believed her, but because part of her believed herself. That night, I added nothing to the notebook. Instead, I sat with Biscuit, held her close, listened to her breath. You're not forgotten, I said. You never were. She blinked at me, and I realized it wasn't justice that I'd been chasing. It was proof. Proof that love means something, that loss matters, that the quiet ones aren't invisible. It was quiet when they came. No sirens. No shouting, just 2 marked cars, 1 unmarked van, 7:42 a.m., Thursday. The air smelled like dust and lavender. I watched from my porch, Biscuit beside me, notebook in my lap. She didn't resist, didn't even speak, just stepped out in her cardigan, hands folded, hair pinned neatly, like she was going to Sunday service. The sheriff read the charges: animal cruelty, trespassing, destruction of property, suspected arson, and more still under investigation. She didn't look at me, not once. But before they shut the car door, she turned her head slightly, smiled, not cruelly, but as if to say, "Now we both got what we wanted." By noon, the news had spread. A reporter called, wanted a quote. I gave one. This isn't about revenge. It's about remembering the ones who couldn't speak and making sure no one forgets them again. That afternoon, Danielle brought over lemon cupcakes. It was a strange gesture, but somehow fitting. We ate them on the porch in silence. She stared at the burned garden. "You gonna plant something new?" I looked out. Eventually. The mailbox filled quickly. Letters, drawings, even 2 callers mailed anonymously. One said, "For Toby." The other, "In case Biscuit ever wants a friend." Maggie's final article came out 2 days later. The Street That Spoke Back. My name was in it. So was Danielle's, and Alice's, and a dozen others who once felt invisible. The notebook? I sealed it in a box, labeled it, "They were real." Not for evidence anymore, for memory. One evening, just before the season turned, I lit a single candle, set it near the edge of the garden. The earth was still black, but soft, waiting. I dug with my hands, slow, careful, and placed one small bulb in the soil, a hydrangea, same kind I'd had before, only this time I chose blue. I sat with Biscuit, watching the sky fade from orange to gray, my hands still dirty, and for the first time in months, I felt quiet. Not silence, not fear, just quiet, like breath, before something new begins. If you're still here and this story spoke to you, consider subscribing to the channel so you won't miss the next one.